everyone, this is Matt Black from WrestleZone.com, and I'm here with 2K's associate lead narrator designer, Andrea Listenberger. Andrea, how you doing today?
I am fantastic, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing well. We're here to talk about the Wyatt 6 edition to the island on WWE 2K25. I feel like we should start back in the summer of 2021. Were you with 2 were you with 2K at the time, or were you still with WWE? I know you used to be a writer for the company previously.
So here's a fun fact. Yes, on both counts.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. So I was actually at that time, and everyone knew it. So this was not a weird situation. Yeah, I was still working at that time, mostly for SmackDown, but it was the pandemic, so it was weird. And I was working for 2K as well, doing a little bit of both.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, well, back in the summer of 2021, the wrestling world was shocked when out of nowhere it was announced that Bray Wyatt had been released from the company. At that point, we knew 2K was deep in the development of WWE 2K22. There were countless rumors and reports that a Bray Wyatt was heavily scheduled to be featured in that year's version of My Rise. But he ended up having to be taken out of the game. Then he ended up having to be removed from the mode, and all these things changed. In years later, you guys want to bring some of those memories that fans never got to see from 2K22 into 2K25 in the island. What was the thought process behind wanting to uh um share some of those memories with the audience now, and what was the thought process of having to eliminate Bray from 2K22 in the first place?
Sure. Well, I remember exactly where I was when we found out that Bray had gotten released, and the first reaction was, "Oh shit," because yeah, it was a pretty big storyline. And we're like, "Well, we got to pivot. We got to figure out how we're gonna manage it." And we did. It was, but honestly, it's never fun to have to figure out how to reconfigure a storyline. Um, in terms of working him to 25, we had actually tried to bring back the storyline previously. We had plans to bring it back in a much different way in 2K24. We had actually scheduled to record some new audio with Bray before his passing to use some of the existing cutscenes and put some new audio with it in a way that made sense for his character at the time. Obviously, things did not work out that way. He unfortunately passed far before his time, and that didn't happen. And it didn't make sense for us to just insert the storylines and have a random Bray Wyatt storyline in My Rise. When we were working on the island for 25, we started talking about having a Wyatt 6 area, and we didn't have a super specific idea for what the story was going to be there. We started kicking around a few ideas, and out of that started to come the idea for, is there something we can do with the Bray Wyatt footage? Especially when we saw what Wyatt 6 was doing on TV, how they were talking about Bray, how they were breaking the fourth wall. And from those sort of initial like Bo Dallas, Uncle Howdy vignettes, the idea of doing something that only we could do in a video game and seeing if, do we want to break the fourth wall like they're doing on TV? That's where the genesis for that idea came. And that's kind of where the whole thing started.
I mean, that's awesome. Um, Bray Wyatt's legacy is obviously, it's very important to wrestling fans, and obviously you all at 2K. Do you have any fond memories of working with Bray either in WWE or as a part of 2K when you were developing these games?
Yeah. Well, when I was in WWE, I worked mostly adjacent to him. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to, work directly on his content. I think, the biggest memories I have of him, I loved watching. Honestly, mostly as a fan, because uh, the best memories I have were talking to like the writer who worked a lot on like the Firefly Funhouse match leading up to that, which because of the pandemic, I was not able to be a part of. I was stuck up in Connecticut at the time. They were shooting it down at the Performance Center.
Yeah.
But I don't have any super fun memory. I mean, this is the boring answer to your question.
It's all good.
Yeah, because of the way that it was all separated. And then, for recording the VO, it was all via Zoom. I'm sorry that I'm not more interested on this particular point. So
No, no,
really,
absolutely
and
not.
even writing the stories, like, it came from more of a perspective of a fan, in that way, because I wasn't involved in any of the Funhouse segments when I was writing for WWE.
Were you involved in writing the initial My Rise 2K22 Bray Wyatt story?
Yeah, so for 22, there were originally two stories that were going to be about Bray Wyatt. There was going to be one in the women's division storyline and one in the men's division storyline. And I came on board kind of midway through 22. Like, that's when I was hired. They were somewhat outlined. The men's division storyline was a little bit more outlined. I believe the women's division, my memories, there was at least the idea that there was a women's division storyline, and I can't quite remember what state it was in. I remember I wrote the women's division storyline, and then one of our other writers wrote the men's division storyline. So I wrote the 22 one, which was wild because when we were working on 25 one and I was pulling lines from the 22 one, I was like, wait a second, I wrote this. And there were some lines where I was like, hey, I did okay. And there were other lines where I was like, I could tell that I wrote this 3 years ago when I was learning how to write for video games for the very first time.
And it's all learning pains.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
there's rumors, I don't know if you can confirm them or not, but a lot of the rumors that came out about that mode at the time was that the men's side of the story was heavily going to feature Aleister Black, who had also departed for AEW that year, while the women's side was going to heavily feature Dana Brooke. Do you remember that at all, if that's accurate or if that was just false reports?
I do not. Well, I don't remember Aleister Black being in the men's division storyline. I
Okay.
will say that. Dana Brooke, and this, I don't think this is super new information, and I'm not really. Well, I'll say this. I will spill. Yeah, Dana Brooke was.
Go for it.
Dana Brooke was going to be in the women's division storyline, but I wouldn't call it like a huge feature or anything. I mean, obviously, she was also released. Well, she wasn't released from the company at. I forget the timeline
I
of
think she
it.
was still there at that point.
But she was going to be involved in the Bray storyline, and when Bray was released, the Bray storyline went away. That didn't go anywhere. So that was part of it. But she was not the linchpin on which the whole storyline revolved around, or anything like that.
Okay, very fair.
Yeah.
Are you guys, is this kind of additional story content going to be the norm for 2K going forward? Are you going, like, I'm not saying for sure that the island will be back in 2K26, but like if it is, or even just the idea of additional story content through like a My Rise mode, is this something you guys want to explore in the future by adding additional replay value to the fans throughout the yearly cycles of these games?
That's an interesting question. I think at this point, kind of everything's on the table in that we're having fun with what we're doing on the islands. And moving forward, I can't really speak to what we're doing in future cycles because, everything's a little bit up in the air, right?
Of course, yeah.
But I'll say this, it's been fun. We like it. And who knows? Anything's possible.
And that's part of the loveliness of WWE and WWE video games in whole. Like, and they always said anything can happen in WWE, anything can happen in WWE games.
Yeah,
So,
and it's two things. It's like anything can happen in WWE or the islands, and the other thing they always say in wrestling, cards subject to change, and that's just part of the fun.
very true. Andrea, I just want to thank you so much for your time, and I don't want to take up any more of it than I already have. But you guys could play the Wyatt 6 story in the island right now on WWE 2K25. If you don't have WWE 2K25 already, I don't know what you're doing. It's out on everything. It recently came out on Switch 2 last month. So it's basically anywhere that you have a video game console or PC. PC doesn't have the island, but that's another subject entirely. Andrea, thank you so much for your time. Do you have anything you want to say to the fans before we get out of here?
Yeah, just thanks for playing our game. Like, as you saw in the Wyatt Six storylines, if you played it, like the fans mean a lot to WWE. They mean a lot to 2K 25 and the WWE franchise as well. Like, we hope that came across in that storyline. So,
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
all right, thanks, Matt.